Our initial intention was to have all our 3 T-level routes together under one transition umbrella, and we very much wanted to deliver it as a non-qualification model where we were focusing on developing the knowledge, skills and behaviours for our transition students to then be successful on the T-level. We had representation from each of the 3 curriculum areas, along with myself and a couple of other managers across the college, to investigate how our transition programme would look. We wanted it to have a lot of flexibility and fluidity so that it could focus on progression to the T-level. We didn't want a lot of that time being taken up by the restriction of a formal qualification, because sometimes then what happens is the delivery is focused on what the qualification needs rather than what the student needs. So what we wanted to do is be able to perform diagnostics on our students and identify where their particular areas of strength were, but also their areas of development, and then be able to almost work individually within a group setting on that development role towards having the necessary knowledge, skills and behaviours for the T-level. So we had technical content in there. We wanted to ensure that we had maths and English, digital, pastoral support, but very much every session being an holistic approach to ensuring that we could deliver what the students needed. So for example, a particular task, one student, the focus might have been on their problem solving ability, but for another it might have been their verbal communication, and for another it might be leadership. So what we had is we ensured that our T-level staff were also our transition programme staff, and that became critical. They were the ones with the insight into what was needed to become T-level ready. So they used that experience and knowledge to then develop what the transition programme content needed to be. And that became ongoing development. So during a particular T-level year, the first year of the T-levels, they identified that some students would be struggling on a particular topic or an element. So that was an opportunity to do some development work within the transition programme to ensure that these students were more ready when they stepped up.
With the transition program, we've done quite a few assignments with them. So as part of the assignments, they've got to research, they've got to produce a report up to a certain standard as well. So as part of report writing, we'll first of all find out the right structure as part of report writing, and then we'll also look into critical writing as well. So how do we get the research in? How do we look at 2 sides of the argument? And how do we present that as part of a report as well? Basic skills like proofreading, looking at spelling, grammar, that's all very important as part of, the final report that's being produced.
Another element was the methods of assessment. So again, the fact that T-level's got the exams in there, it's got a lot of project-based. So it was important that the transition programme had elements which was supporting learners to improve. So improving in an exam for the sake of being better at an exam, not for getting a 60% pass mark or a 70% pass mark, things like that. And also the utilisation of projects. So using projects in the transition programme, which then again ensured that students could progress moving forwards and be very comfortable with the projects when they move to T-levels. Sometimes the project would be set by the team, other times it came in from an employer or a combination of the two. So the attempt was real world projects. And in some cases in the development stages, then different students would be assigned different roles within how that project came together, different elements of the responsibility aligned to the content. But then what we did found through development is that one of the cohorts had the T-level students and the transition students working together on projects. So they actually identified time in the timetable where it would be a T-level project, and what we had is our transition students were exposed to the T-level students, exposed to what that next year would look like, but then actually working on a collective target and a collective project together.
Darish, can you tell me what information you've got in terms of what the main hazards are to do with dust and noise?
The main hazards is
So we've got many case studies that we use as part of the transition program. One case study that we've used is the local one called Glassworks, which is taking place at Barnsley Town Centre. It's a shopping centre, and as part of that case study, what we're talking to the students about is, the design process in terms of what the professionals have been dealing with, the type of foundations that have been used, the type of materials that have been used as part of the project, all the health and safety issues that the contractors have been working with, and also the project management side of it as well.
We have a college-based certificate for the transition programme with employer endorsement, and the key elements is that they have like the key units or elements that they've covered in the programme is identified, but then there is a reference kind of all the key knowledge, skills and behaviours that they've developed. So in terms of the certification, there's something that identifies what they've achieved, which supports with the portability, because we are aware that, when you're having a non-qualification, it's what is the student leaving with, but actually what we have is a document that identifies what the student's done, what they've developed, and again, that's both from a theoretical and knowledge and content based, but also a practical and an employability element. So that's the structure of the certificate, and then we have a kind of a celebration awards event. So we do it as a combined T-level and transition program. So again, that continuation of that thread.
For next year, we're going to be putting more practical into the programme. We like putting our transition students in with the T-level students so they get a good idea of the level of academics in that area, and they can do a bit of the projects as well. It's a good learning environment for them. So that's what we're going to be doing more of for next academic year.
So as part of the transition program, what we need to do is we need to get employers more involved, so we can have more guest speakers in and getting them to just give the students a bit of an overview in terms of their progression routes, in terms of what they do as part of their real life industry.
Look at what the T-level offer and have that close relationship with using the transition program to prepare learners for the T-level. And I come back to that point of it's not just about the content, it's the work readiness, it's the methods of assessment, it's that. So there's opportunities within the transition program to do that. It's having the staff that teach across both the T-level and the transition. Appreciate that might not always be the case, that it can be the same staff. So where it isn't, definitely provide opportunities where those staff can come together to share best practice and develop their practice.
Make it holistic in terms of teaching, make the assessment quite sort of enjoyable as well for the students as well, and just make it an enjoyable experience.
I would definitely recommend having T-level and transition students to come together as well. Nobody tells it how it is like a student, and the students may hear the same message, but they're hearing it from a different voice, and it resonates more. But it also enables them to see what the future looks like.